Entry denied. You have criticized the government.
Sorry, last week you purchased too much meat and now your access to your money has been denied.
You haven't let the government know about this trip and your access is denied.
You have gone over your carbon credit allowance of food this week and your access to food has been denied. A day in the life of UK school children 2035 with digital ID. You have gone over your electricity allowance this week and your access is denied. You have gone over your weekly travel limit and your access is denied.
He was stunned when the customer paid using his hand. It was an RFID implant inserted under the skin, allowing him to make payments, unlock doors, or access his car, just like a contactless card. Simple, seamless, and almost like magic.
The government initiative to implement a unified digital identity system is called Project 06, or as I like to call it, Project 666.
So just explain to the absolute layman, because these conversations are going to have to take place now, why this is problematic. And if you can, Neil, do it like in terms of the real practicalities rather than the ideology of it.
It's the way in which it brings everything together. Everything together, all of the information about us, everything from health, everything about your finances, everything, anything that you can think of that's out there in the digital sphere is brought together by this kind of platform. And everything can be used in real time to make judgments about you, about what you propose to do. It can reference things that you've said in the past, done in the past. It can use anything at all that's on your record. It can relate to protests maybe that you've attended, to things that you've said, to posts that you've made on social media, to your financial status. And in real time, decisions can be made about whether or not you get permission to do whatever it is that you want to do next. Put fuel in your car, buy a plane ticket, buy a steak in a supermarket, buy a bottle of wine, whatever it is that you want to do, a decision can be made in advance. Because what is happening here with digital ID is effectively you are being replaced with an avatar of yourself. If you imagine one of those little pieces that you move about on a Monopoly board that sort of represents you on the board, well, they have you in that digital ID. And they can decide whether or not you get to move on the board. And your hands are effectively tied behind your back. Anybody that submits to this, anybody that accepts a digital ID is slapping handcuffs around their own wrists. It's the end of freedom, it's the end of choice, it's the worst possible decision that any freedom-loving person could possibly make.
The third place this power will show up in is surveillance and security. Some digital driver's license apps in the US already have what's called a phone home feature. That means every time you use your ID at a bar, at an airport, or a hotel, it pings a government database. So now, instead of just being a harmless ID, the government now has a time-stamped log of everywhere you go and everything you do in real time. If you add in central bank digital currencies on top of all that, which are already being tested, as well as an API that companies can pay to access, and it's not really that hard to imagine a programmable-like money that is tied to your biometrics. That gives the government the ability to program dollars that maybe stop working at certain stores for certain purchases, or even dollars that expire after a certain date.
You know, I do believe that's kind of the famous saying is by 2030 you will own nothing and you will be happy.
You will own nothing and you will be happy. That's straight from the horse's mouth, from the world.
Verification requires either biometric data stored in the unified biometric system or a passport upload combined with a selfie. Once confirmed, the app generates a dynamic QR code stored on the user's device, serving as their official digital ID. What happens if they lose their phone? What happens if someone breaks into their house, unlocks their phone with the person looking at them, murders them, and then uses that to access everything? There's no way to do this unless they start inserting chips into people's bodies, which I guess just give that one time.
Unless they start inserting chips into people's bodies. When Elias Brotberger goes to work, he doesn't need ID. And he doesn't need money. In fact, much of what he needs to get through the day is hidden right there, just below the surface, in his hand.
You like to touch it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, weird. Yeah, it's like a grain of rice.
Yeah, a grain of rice.
Embedded in his hand is a microchip that serves as his keys, his ID, and his wallet.
Yeah, it's all in chip. So I use it like to get around the building.
Buy snacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's buy some snacks. Exactly. So I can't open it.
No.
Okay.
So what I need to do is I need to first blip my chip and it will log me in. And from there I get access to the fridge.
Popular TV shows like Black Mirror have imagined chips as part of a dystopian future.
Install ingrained procedure with local anesthetic and you're good to go.
In Sweden, the microchips are already here.
The microchip implants use the same technology that's in contactless credit cards,
which have made cash pretty much obsolete in Sweden.
No cash.
At this tech fair, a chipping event for those on the cutting edge, merging their hands with this new technology.
I thought it would be fun, right?
The process is simple and swift. A pinch of the skin, and in a matter of seconds, the chip is inserted. The transformation is complete.
It's 23 and 32.
What I found really interesting is just how fast they're putting these systems into place.
Russia pushes state-backed messaging app, Max, as it moves to ban WhatsApp. So Russia wants to know what you're saying to everyone. And they don't want someone else to be able to do that because they want to control what you're saying. WhatsApp's potential exit marks another milestone in Russia's quiet war to nationalize the internet, one app at a time. But back to this one. The app is being built as an all-in-one hub, offering communication, payments, government portals, and commercial services in a model echoing China's WeChat.
Are also the same features that will be abused for power. And here's exactly why we should be extremely concerned. Once you centralize identity into one system, yes, you do make it easier for people to prove who they are, but you also make it easier for governments and corporations and special interests to track and control people. We've already seen governments weaponize financial access against their own citizens, and you're going to see this happen in three specific areas: government power, corporate power, and surveillance. That means their digital ID is not just proof of who they are, but it's also connected to things like their financial history, travel rights, and even their online activity. So what that means is, if the government doesn't like what they're doing, or doesn't like what they're saying online, or maybe what they're buying, they could restrict your ability to travel, to buy those things, or to access certain social services.
After being sued for defamation by the subject of a story he'd written, he was blacklisted. But he only realized when he tried to buy a train ticket and was told he was banned from traveling.
If you didn't get a vaccine that the government mandated, sorry, you can't use public transportation.
They would immediately detect that and send you a notification, and they would deduct money from your what they call WeChat account. They use two main apps, WeChat and Alipay. So you can actually deduct your money directly from your account.
There were reports of elderly people and workers who were denied food and pensions because their fingerprint scanners stopped working. So if the system doesn't recognize you, you don't get food. That's kind of crazy.
And I have to pass facial recognition identity verification, which is insane because all I want to do is just spend my gift card balance on this debit card.
These are real-world examples of how powerful and dangerous this can be when your whole identity is digital. And this is just scratching the surface. Before I tell you how these systems can really be abused, once you centralize identity into one system, yes, you do make it easier for people to prove who they are, but you also make it easier for governments and corporations and special interests to track and control people. We've already seen governments weaponize financial access against their own citizens, and you're going to see this happen in three specific areas: government power, corporate power, and surveillance. So the first example, government power. If you remember in 2022, during the Freedom Convoy protests in Canada, the government used emergency powers and ordered banks to freeze accounts linked to protesters. They targeted regular people who donated money through GoFundMe. And overnight, citizens were locked out of their own savings. There was no trials, there were no court rulings, no one was convicted of any wrongdoing. It was just because they supported the wrong cause. There was also Georgia earlier this year, where Amnesty International reported that the government froze the bank accounts of NGOs and lawyers who were providing legal aid to protesters. And their crime was offering support to people exercising their right to protest. So with the click of a button, the government just silenced people by cutting off access to their money. And under existing anti-money laundering laws, this is super easy to justify because banks are required to freeze or flag accounts that they suspect have unusual activity. But what counts as unusual activity, and who gets to decide that? That could mean transferring money to buy Bitcoin. It could mean donating to a protest movement. It could even mean participating in the boycott of a company that the government wants to protect. None of this has to be proven illegal in court. As long as they have suspicion, that is enough.
The plan to stop you from flying. So now they're talking about this new report has just come out, and they are saying that you, yes, you, are only going to be able to take one flight every 3 years if we're going to hit these targets. And it's not even like, let's say you fly from the US and you go to the Philippines, or you fly from the UK and you're going to Thailand. No, that's not what it's talking about. It's saying less than 1,000 kilometers is the flight that you'll be able to take. This is what this report is saying, which is holding a lot of weight, and a lot of the big organizations are saying, here, yeah, we should do this, we should follow this report. So this is what they are saying. I mean, 1,000 kilometers won't get you anywhere. I don't know what that is in miles. Someone just put it in the comments, please calculate it. But that's nothing. You can't get anywhere with 1,000 miles.
I was talking about all these things that will come in next, and restrictions on travel. We've already seen that with a test case in Oxford, a video I covered a couple of weeks ago now, maybe 3 weeks ago, where they are trying to reduce CO2 and methane and everything else by restricting the number of journeys that people can make to 100 car journeys per year. Crazy. But all of these things are coming through, and now the airlines is the next one that is on the WEF list, because they're trying to say that most emissions are caused by air travel, and that people are being irresponsible with their air travel, and that you don't need a overseas holiday, you can just have a local holiday down to the beach, and all this sort of stuff, trying to guilt trip people into not traveling and not having nice holidays. But now the EU is at it as well, so lawmakers agree to restrict EU carbon tax to flights within Europe. So a deal struck by EU legislators early Wednesday morning, so this was the 7th of December this month, affirms that the price on aviation carbon emissions will continue, okay, so it already exists, to apply only to flights within Europe, in a blow to environmental campaigners who had lobbied for complete coverage.
Right, the plan to stop you from flying. So now they're talking about this new report has just come out, and they are saying that you, yes, you, are only going to be able to take one flight every 3 years if we're going to hit these targets. And it's not even like, let's say you fly from the US and you go to the Philippines, or you fly from the UK and you're going to Thailand. No, that's not what it's talking about. It's saying less than 1,000 kilometers is the flight that you'll be able to take. This is what this report is saying, which is holding a lot of weight, and a lot of the big organizations are saying, here, yeah, we should do this, we should follow this report. So this is what they are saying. I mean, 1,000 kilometers won't get you anywhere. I don't know what that is in miles. Someone just put it in the comments, please calculate it. But that's nothing. You can't get anywhere with 1,000 miles.
And that's a very scary thing. Now, the second place you're going to see this power is corporate power. Again, Amazon and Uber and other companies are already experimenting with digital IDs. But once it becomes the standard, It will stop being just identification. It will become what some people call a super cookie, right? Like, think about how a website uses cookies to track your browsing and sell you ads, right? But now apply that across your entire identity. That opens the door to something called dynamic pricing. And that's a shareholder's dream, by the way. Here's how it's going to work. Think about how airports charge us like $20 for a sandwich or a bottle of water. Why? Because they know you're trapped. You're not going to leave the airport, get an Uber, and eat somewhere else, and then come back through security. You are stuck. That is a very simple form of dynamic pricing. But imagine if that logic gets supercharged by digital IDs. Let's say your ID app shows that you just got off a 10-hour flight, right? The system knows where you've been, it knows your wallet balance, it knows you're hungry, so the algorithm decides, that person is stressed and they will probably pay more. And then boom, your sandwich is $25 instead of $12. But the person next to you might pay less just because that system thinks they're more price sensitive. They can tolerate $15, but not $1 more. Ticketmaster, for example, already uses dynamic pricing, where the same ticket can jump in price minute by minute based purely on demand. Now imagine, though, if your digital ID shows you've searched for, Taylor Swift tickets 5 times this week. The algorithm knows you are more likely to pay more, so your price gets pushed higher than someone else's. Airlines already do this.
Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. So basically, by you taking that microchip, you basically making a covenant or an agreement with the devil, with Esau, and with their God, because their God is Satan on the left-hand side. So you're pledging allegiance to this devil and to his system. When the Lord said that to stay upon him for everything, but he said like 2/3 of Israel, they stay upon these devils and upon the other nations for their stuff. When it's the Most High that provides you with everything.
Chapter 14, saying with a loud voice, Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of water. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascended up for ever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Chapter 16. And I heard a great voice out of the temple, saying to the 7 angels, Go your ways, and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. Chapter 19. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. Chapter 20. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads, or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
The latest breakthroughs. Turns out one of the biggest discoveries is actually this tiny. See how small that is? This little chip may be the next big thing, and it sounds like it's right from a sci-fi movie, but people all over the world are implanting these into their wrists. So I asked my producer, Dean, to find out more about this cutting-edge technology and what it could mean for your health.
Whether it's our smartphones, our watches, our fitness trackers, or our Bluetooth headphones, it's clear that technology is not just part of our lives, it's running them. It's how we buy things, watch things, how we date, stay safe, even how we travel. Paul? Cool. We're so attracted to our devices that they're basically becoming a part of our bodies. But what if they really could become a part of our bodies? Well, guess what? They can. Meet the RFID microchip. This tiny chip, which can be implanted into your wrist, yes, I did say wrist, uses short-range radio frequency identification, similar to the tech used to track your pets or your phone. Once implanted in your body, it could identify you as you pass through the airport, open the door to your home. It could even be used to buy groceries at the supermarket. Now, your driver's license, passport, keys, and wallet are all inside your body, contained in something the size of a grain of rice.